Andrew, super excited to have you here. Obviously, we're talking to the online marketing wizard that has helped so many agents, very well known kind of in our industry here in Canada, maybe beyond Canada. Maybe Andrew can talk a little bit about that, but definitely here in Canada, known as someone who's helped a lot of agents with their kind of online marketing strategy. So he's going to chat with us today about what marketing works online. So make sure you got your pen and paper out, take some notes here, because our business and the marketing opportunities that we have in today's world are amazing. So Andrew, share with us what marketing would you say that agents should be focused in on in a time like this, but not just in in this moment, but through. You had a brief few minutes to chat before, and here's the truth: like what they should be doing now should be extending kind of beyond their business anyway, right? So
yeah, so it's an interesting one. So like I was mentioning kind of before we started filming, what actually brought about the kind of presentation I'm going to be giving now is I started sitting down and writing like what marketing works during COVID. And I very quickly realized this is exactly how I would market at any time. The only thing I would be changing is some messaging, maybe a few of the tactics of how the marketing's delivered. But at the end of the day, it's the exact same process that I would do. Like if I went back to sales today, this is what I would be doing. And it's basically broken down. You can break down into 6 components of how to market your business. And it's actually a lot of this, to be honest, you could just as easily adapt it to the offline just by changing some of the tactics. It's definitely going to be the most effective online. But we break it down into it. And the idea when I first came up with the idea was think of like, those old ship wheels that have like the levers on it you turn. The idea being if you grabbed one lever and then pulled, you could turn it and like get your business going. But if you grab 2, it'll turn easier. And then like the more of them that you could grab, the faster it would spin, you'd get more business. So the idea being like you can take 1 or 2 of these ideas at the beginning and run with that and then start adding in others as you go. So I thought what I would do today is actually just break down at a high level the 6 different ones. And then certainly if one of them appeals to someone, they can jump in and learn more about that one. So I figured I'd start actually with, if I went back to sales today, where I would start with my business if I went back into sales today. So the first one I would do, I'm right now, and the reason I'm not doing slides is I'm still like writing this out. I'm still making it work. And I'm going to hire a copywriter to come up with better titles because I'm not quite there with the titles that's in rough draft mode. But the concepts all sound. But the first one I'm calling it until I find someone to write it better, fast moving hyperlocal content. But basically the idea behind that, like you've probably heard of hyperlocal content, but I want to add in that.
So when you say hyperlocal, explain to everyone what hyperlocal means, just in case they don't understand it. And like that's for agents, that's a long title, but it's great. So I get it, but like explain like when you say hyperlocal, what do you mean for an agent again?
So it's as specific as you can get to serve an audience. So like for some people that'll be different. Like for instance, like I grew up in a town called Aurora. You could make hyperlocal just all of Aurora because Aurora is small enough. You could make it work with just that town. But then if you're from Toronto, you couldn't do Toronto. That's way too broad. Gotcha. Right. So you kind of have to look at your area specifically. How niche can you make it? Like we have clients who do like a specific neighborhood in one town. But there's enough turnover, enough homes to make that work. So for everyone, it's going to be a little bit different. But the idea being like when you niche down, which I think is really important, and that doesn't necessarily have to be a geographic. Like we have a client, for example, who works with pre-construction investors for condos only. Like he doesn't work with end users. It's investors only for pre-construction condos in Toronto. So he has a very, very specific niche. That to him is his version of hyperlocal. Like he's really drilled down. But the key part of that is not just like creating great content that is relevant locally. It's the fast moving part too. So it's getting, when something happens, being the first one out without information about it, that's relevant to the area. Like a great example that I like to do with this is, I don't know if you remember a few years ago, a study came out that said homes within like 2 kilometers of a Starbucks were worth more money on average than homes that weren't within 2 kilometers of a Starbucks. So the great way to do like fast moving hyperlocal content around that is now because what 99% of agents will do is they'll take that link, share me like a really cool stat and share it out. there's no added value there. It's just you're sharing this thing. But what you should do is be like, check out this cool article. I checked the stats locally, and here's what it's like here in our town. So if I was, again, doing like where I grew up in Aurora, I'd be like, I checked what the numbers are in Aurora, and homes within 2 kilometers of a Starbucks in Aurora are worth this compared to the rest. So you're taking it and you're adding a local spin to it while building up your expertise, because now it gives people an added reason. And then you're also giving people that ability to, like, because now what's going to happen is that person who's going to see your version of it will talk to people, being like, someone will be like, hey, did you see that study? So you're like, yeah, actually I saw in Aurora, this is what the numbers are. You're giving them something to talk about. They're like, oh, how'd you know that? Then they start talking about the agent they saw online. But it's that idea of, like, if you're the first one out there, like new developments in the area, like if a school's going in, a new permit's up for a thing, like you're the first one in there and talking about it. And as much as you can, relaying it back to real estate. And now it doesn't have to always be back to real estate. It can just be community focused. But basically the idea being you're the first one there, because what's going to happen is a couple. One, because you're always sharing it first, people are going to follow you more. But then you're also going to start ranking really well on Google. And that's the key part of the fast. So like if a news story breaks, like 15% of all Google searches have never been searched before. And a lot of the reason for that is because people search for things that are happening right now. So like obviously before this year, like for example, COVID-19 was probably never searched on Google before, and now it's been one of the most popular search terms. So people who like got in quickly with that would have ranked really high. Same idea here of, for your local area, when something happens, people are going to search it. If you have the first result because you're up there quickly, you're going to drive all that traffic to yourself. And you can then take that and leverage it. So like a great post that we used to do when I sold was we did profiles of schools. So I do 1,000 to 1,500 word blog post on schools in the area, like and each school would get its own blog post. So it'd be really in depth. And then at the bottom, just a simple, you want to search for homes in this school district, click here. And that start generating immediately. But like the schools are bringing an extra 500 people a week to the website. And they're all local people or people looking to become local. So it's just a really effective way because people really care about schools. And the beauty with like the school example is schools don't really care about SEO, because for them, like it's not like they have to sell people really on coming there. So like you generally would rank right up with the website once you start doing it enough. So we actually got a lot of success doing things like that. But it's that idea of like constantly thinking about what's going on in the area I'm working on or the niche I'm working, and I want to be the first one to get out the relevant information to them. So that's one, I think, really good pillar. A great example of a team that does great content would be the Brell team, downtown Toronto. So if anyone wants to check them out as an example, it'd be getwhatyouwant.ca, I believe is their website. But that's a great example of a team doing really well with that. It doesn't necessarily have to be written blogs. You could do it with video, audio, but basically the idea is be the first and do it consistently with great content that's relevant to your audience.
So where are you marketing these blogs then? Like when you do these blogs, where are you putting them?
So everything should be housed on your website.
Everything's on the website. Okay.
But that's where it starts, right? So like you put it on your website, then from there you're sharing it on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, you're emailing it out to your database. Like it's based on your website, but then goes everywhere. Okay. So you're not like, and this is where like people talk about like, oh, like I don't need a website, I have a Facebook page. Well, like I'll give you a great example. Trisha on my team last week on Thursday hit enter on an ad that talked about COVID, and Facebook blocked her, even her personal account, from being able to access it anymore because COVID was a trigger word. Because like the amount that we advertise and kind of the budget we deal with through Facebook, like I have someone I can pick up the phone and call. So like I picked up the phone and called my guy, and within 24 hours we got our account back. But if you don't have someone to call, the odds of that happening are very, very small, right? Like that's going to take 4, 5, 6, 7 days potentially. Now you're locked out of your only means of like, so you want that website to drive people to and own the list. Or Facebook goes the way of MySpace maybe, and that audience you built there is gone. So you want to bring them to something that you own no matter what. And that's kind of the beauty of a platform like that. So we encourage like that content there drives people to your website from all the other platforms. And then you're getting it out on those platforms. And then phase 2, so this is like the next lever you pull, is basically the no BS market update. So this is, people are going to come to you for information about real estate.
So we broke up their internet there. Saying, what's step 2 then?
So it's a no BS market update. So you're going to share with people like the straight goods on what's happening in the market. And there's different variations you can take on this. You could do like straight, like here's the numbers of what's going on. If you're going to do that, don't just share like what your board puts out. You have to add your interpretation of it. But you can just share the straight numbers. Other people will do things like here's a deal of the week or a featured home of the week. There's another great agent out of Milton, Ontario named Chuck Charlton. He sends out 5 emails a week, Monday through Friday. And it's basically like, here's what's come on the market in the last 24 hours, and here's what we think about them. So it's a pretty consistent thing that goes out, but it's that idea of people follow real estate agents because of real estate. Yes, there's community things that bring them in. Yes, they care about other things besides real estate too. But at the end of the day, you are still a real estate agent who has to build trust that you are an expert at real estate. So I still think people kind of overemphasize non-real estate content because like people only move every 5 to 7 years. But at the same time, everybody's almost always interested in real estate. It's a huge topic of discussion, and you want them to see you as the expert on that. And people can unsubscribe from your list if they're not interested anymore. That's actually not a big deal. We actually, to a degree, encourage unsubscribes. But that's a whole other discussion topic. But basically, the market update, you're proving yourself as an expert, and your insight's the key part of this. So like if you're going to share, here's the deal of the week, don't just share it. Say why you think it's the deal of the week. So it's not just, hey, check out this beautiful home. It's like, we think this home is a great deal for this reason, this reason, and this reason. And you can do a lot of ads promoting that. So for example, like the content you're creating in step 1 there is you can retarget everyone's reading that content to sign up for it. It's a really great way to get people's contact information in a non salesy way, because then you just start adding calls to action everywhere. Or even if someone's not that interested, be like, oh, by the way, every Friday at 10 a.m. we send out a market update, just what's going on in the market, what recent sales have been notable, and a ton of great information like that. Would you like to sign up and just get that in your inbox? You can unsubscribe anytime. Really easy way to get people in. And then the more you do that, the more you're building up trust as that local expert. So like the fast moving hyperlocal content, that gets the know and like part, hopefully. Definitely the know part. Hopefully they'll start liking you. But like think about it like this too, is like I think a lot of speakers do a disservice when they talk about know, like, and trust, because there's a lot of people we all know and like we don't necessarily trust with business. Like I have friends that love the guys, but I wouldn't necessarily trust them with $100. Right? Like it's, it's the reality of the world. So when you think about it from that perspective, like, yes, great content and videos can get them to know and like you, but that doesn't mean they're going to now trust you. Like I have a show called Over a Pint where I drink on camera with people, but you watching me get drunk doesn't mean you're going to trust me marketing your business, right? Like it's not a trust building, but what we will do is retarget people who watch that, who are getting to know and like us, with things that prove we're the expert at what we're talking about. Now that piece is where like they are like, okay, that's someone I want to hire and work with because I like him, plus I can tell that he's an expert. And that's where you like the market update piece proves you're the expert. And I think it can be promoted and you can also promote it to a cold audience. So like one of our clients right now, we're averaging $3 for every person who signs up to his mailing list. And it's just a constantly growing list of people that he sends out real estate information for. And you just add a little call to action at the bottom of every single one, which then leads really easily into kind of the third pillar we're talking about, which was what we refer to as precision marketing. So this is like your one-to-one emails, your one-to-one text messages, your hyper-targeted Facebook ads. Because like one of the things that I love about Facebook ads is even though you technically can't target just one person, you can get pretty close. You used to literally be able to target one person. I used to do it all the time. I tried to, there's actually a funny story. So back before the whole Russia election stuff, you could actually target one person with an ad and change who your ad looked like it came from. So I used to run an ad from ESPN to my friend saying that Donovan McNabb got hurt in a car crash. And then I sent him a trade for Donovan McNabb in fantasy football, hoping that when he saw that ad, he'd try and trade him really quickly before he fact checked it. So I almost got Donovan McNabb at a massive discount. Then he actually checked the real ESPN.com. So it didn't quite work out. But that idea of like, you can do really hyper precise targeting. Like with Facebook, you can type in an address. So like a great example of this would be like, if you ever have that pain in the butt client who's like, what are you doing to sell my house? We can actually run an ad to their house so that anytime they're at home, they'll start seeing that ad. And now it's like, oh, it looks like you're advertising everywhere when you're really spending like $2 a day. And it's just because they're in their house, they're always seeing it. But take that same approach to a listing appointment coming up. You have a listing appointment 3 days from now, run ads to their house of testimonials from clients and doing things like that. For example, like things that I'll do, like because we work with some brokerages on recruiting. We will actually target the offices they're trying to recruit agents from to specifically target that group. Because especially when you know, like, because different brands obviously might have different reasons they come to your office. So you can then tailor the message to that. One of my favorite ones was we worked with this agent in this town. Basically, there was 30 agents in the entire area. Like, it's a really small place. He had 12 in his office, and there's only 6 in town he actually wanted to recruit. So we actually just got their home addresses, and we started targeting ads to each of those 6 agents' homes. Wow. We made really, really specific ads with like specific pain points that they were experiencing. Yeah, you'll get some extra people who see it, but then the ones who do see it that you want ends up being worth it, and it's really cheap. So that's the idea there, is just like, how specific can we make these ads to really go to that person? So we do that quite a bit. We just make it really, really specific as much as we can. And email is a big part of that. I think people really sleep on the value of email. And because most people just do it wrong, to be honest. Like there's a great one, if you could know Dean Jackson, who's like one of the best internet marketers out there. He's like, email doesn't have a deliverability problem. It has a desirability problem. So like, he's like, who has 100% open rates on their emails? Your mom. You will read like every email you get from your mom. So like, people are seeing the emails that come in, just they're not opening them because you're not making them want to. So you have to change it and look at like, okay, if this was showing up in an inbox, why would I be looking at it? So it's just changing it from that perspective. And I think like one-to-one emails are incredibly valuable. And like little things, like as an example, and this is again a Dean Jackson idea of, and this is actually another pillar that we talk about too in referral marketing, is this idea of like every Monday, look at where you're showing homes this week. And be like, I'm going to be in this neighborhood on Thursday. Well, email all your past clients in that neighborhood and just say, hey, I'm going to be in your neighborhood on Thursday with a client looking for homes. Nothing on the market's perfect for them right now. Have you heard of anyone thinking of selling in the neighborhood? Because I'm going to be there with someone looking to buy. So now you're actually actively taking steps to get referrals from people. And like a really quick email that way is incredibly effective. And then,
so would email, so I mean, a lot of people now are looking at email as not as effective as say social media marketing, all that. And I tend to disagree. I think email marketing now is actually super important and incredibly valuable. Give me your feedback on that.
So I think they're both incredibly valuable, but it's not one or the other, right? Like your social marketing brings people to your email marketing. Like it's part of the funnel. Whereas like I was saying before, you could get kicked off Facebook tomorrow. Well, all those people from Facebook you pulled into an email list, you now own that email list regardless of what happens on Facebook. So if tomorrow Facebook is gone and TikTok's the big thing, well, you could then just email everyone and be like, hey guys, I'm now apparently on TikTok, right? Like, you can make that change a lot easier than having to build from scratch. So I think you have to, and it's still one-to-one. Like a lot of people don't like posting on social because they don't like themselves out there. Like this is why Instagram stories is actually like the most powerful part of organic marketing on social right now, is because people, even if they reply to your story, it's not public. So they can have that one-to-one conversation. Email's the same thing. They're not putting themselves out there the same way that if they're like commenting publicly and then having people like respond and like make fun of them, right? Like the quote that's like, I'd rather keep my mouth shut and appear stupid than open my mouth and remove all doubt. Like that's a lot of the reason people don't comment on social media.
Yep. Makes sense. Actually makes sense.
So email gets rid of that issue for a lot of people. Same reason Instagram stories gets rid of it.
Gotcha.
And then the next phase after that, which is literally the most important because without it, nothing matters. And that's just 5-star client service. You get a client, you have to give them the best possible service. And think about it from this way. You want the service to be so good that without asking them, they are going to go online to talk about it because it was so like unusual that your service was so good, right? Like you've probably seen people post like, check out this amazing experience I had with this company. If you can deliver that every time and people start posting that, that's when you're giving the right service. Is you're doing such a good job that they're going to want to talk about it because it was so unusual. So it's also looking at from that perspective, like what are things I could do that would just like elevate the experience? Like we have a client in Barrie, Ontario, who she works with a lot of military. One thing she realized is their moving truck almost always shows up about 2 to 3 days after. And what she noticed was everyone packed their toilet paper in that moving truck. So one of the little challenges they all have is they don't have toilet paper the first couple days. So she actually has like a military welcome kit, and then half of it is just a couple toilet paper rolls because she knows like all of them always forget toilet paper. So it's just this little extra piece that like if you save someone when they need toilet paper, like that is more valuable than the best client gift.
Yeah, there's nothing more important than that when the need is there.
Exactly. So it's just like she understands what they need and she gives it to them at the right time. And it's not expensive, but it's understanding their, and that's the value of like niching down too, is like if I just like worked with the military like once every couple of years because it just happened, like I'm not gonna know that little piece. But she knows it so intimately that she can prepare for it that way. So it's just a really, really effective way of doing it. But it's just that piece, I think you can't run long-term. I think you can have like short-term success, maybe even medium-term success or like churn and burn style things. But if you want like a meaningful, long-lasting business, it's not going to work if you don't provide great service. I also think that's how you combat like the Zillows of the world is by just like overdoing the service. So like iBuyers would be a great example, like doing so much better service that you are like, you make yourself invaluable to them. And then the next phase, which comes part of kind of 5-star client service, is referral marketing. So this is actively doing things to get referrals. Like what I talked about before, where it's like saying like, hey, I'm going to be here this week. It's instead of just saying like, oh, by the way, I'm never too busy for your referral, taking active steps to generate them. And doing things like client events, those, and then like offering them to invite friends. And strategic gifting can work really well. Like people really don't think that much about like the value of gifts and doing them the right way. Like a great example of this would be that's led to business for me is one of the things that I like to do is if I find out you like scotch and we've done something together, and like, so for example, the first time it ever happened, I had a friend of mine who's like one of the top Facebook ads guy in the world. Like million, like $100,000 a day on Facebook ads is not like an unusual day for him. So for him to come and do a presentation, it's about a $20,000 fee. And I happen to be in his town doing a workshop, and he, as a favor to me personally, just showed up for an hour and a half and presented for free. Like this is an actual pretty big deal because it's like a $20,000 fee for him to do that. So I sent him a bottle of Johnny Walker Gold, but then I had it engraved with the Nicholas Kuzmich edition on it. So it ended up being like this very personal thing for him when my name wasn't on it at all. But the beauty of it is that one, that never gets drank and that sits on his mantle all the time, right? So like people are like, where'd you get your own edition of like Johnny Walker Gold? And then he talks about me.
Yeah.
If I put my name on it, they'd be like, oh, that was from that guy. There's no conversation happening. So I'm almost like giving him a conversation starter to make him talk about me. And you can do that with your clients too, of like giving them something really unique and memorable that people want and they want to know more about, because then it forces them to have that conversation about you. And if you put your logo on it, that conversation will never happen. So there's actually like more long-term value in not putting your logo on those gifts and putting something about them. So we like to do things like that. And then it also encourages them to post on social. Or like a great example to like generate more referrals. When you have a listing, turn your sellers into a micro influencer. So you all heard of influencer marketing, like online you find, someone in a bikini, you get them to post, yada, yada, yada. But what if you took your sellers and instead of just being like, hey, we've listed your home, be like, hey, here's a Dropbox folder or a Google Drive folder. And on it, we have an Instagram story size post. We have a Facebook post. We have an Instagram post that you can post on your social to promote your home going for sale now. And you give them the copy of what to post. So it's going to have your branding on it. It's going to have instructions on how to contact you. And now you're making it really easy for them to post on social about their home being sold. But it's going to, like, they're now posting about you. Like, I got the idea because I sold my house and I took a picture of the sold sign and I just posted being like, thanks, Marcel, for helping me sell my home. And I had a couple agents reply being like, oh, I wish all my clients did that. And I was like, well, then let's make it easy for them to do that. Like, don't wish them to do something, give them every single piece they need to do it, and then they're more likely to do it.
And then help them do it. That's brilliant. Yeah. That's actually brilliant.
That little kit of like, and even an email, like we'll even write an email out and just like, all you have to do is add the people it's going to. And we'll even recommend, like, if you were to get married tomorrow, who would you invite to that wedding? Email this exactly to all of them. Yeah. And every single one has the instructions on how to contact you, instructions on how to reach out, and the images being shared are really heavy with your branding. So it's not like sharing, because I know like a lot of MLSs don't allow you to put branding on it, but this doesn't stop you, right? Like, add your branding to it, add everything about you on it. So now they know who it is that to reach out to.
It's like you're giving your seller just almost a little packet of here's how you can help market and walk through the sale of your home. And then now that gets them out in front of you out in front of their people.
Yeah.
And listen, they want to sell their house, so they're going to want to do it. And now you're out in front of their people from a referral. I mean, it's almost a testimony in itself, truthfully.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's just a series of really effective things to get them. And it's more effective than them sharing something from your page. It's because it's now coming straight from them. Yeah. So we really recommend setting up things like that. And then the last pillar is case studies. Because I personally hate how most people market just sold. Like, hey, 3 days for 100% of asking price. There's no value there, right? Like that's all about you. Instead, flip it and do like an in-depth case study about them. So instead of saying, I staged the home, be like, we helped our clients stage their home. So you're framing it as like they're the hero, like to go kind of geeky, because I'm a geek. You'd be like, you're positioning yourself as like the Yoda or Obi-Wan, but they're the Luke Skywalker hero. Like they're the one in the story of the case study, because what that does, when you make them the focus, then it lets other people put themselves in their shoes. And now they could be like, okay, that could be me. So like every time you do it, and whether it's again, video, written, doesn't really matter. Like I would probably do it written personally. I try to do both. But I would do like literally like 1,000 to 1,500 words on what you did to get that property sold. And this could be the same that every other agent does, but no other agent's writing it out, so they don't know that. Yeah. Like you can put out there, and like if you do unique things, like the first time we ever tried it with a client, they ended up, it was for a specific condo building. They got the penthouse listing because of it, because they did like an 800 to 1,000 word post about why they got it, and then they marketed it just to that building. And if you actually read the blog post about how they got it sold, the only thing, they only did one thing different than every other agent, and that was they just went back over the last 2 years of sales in that building and called every agent on both sides of every deal that happened and said, hey, I got a listing. Do you know anyone? That was the only thing you could make an argument for, saying that was different than what someone else has done. Outside of that, it was they staged the place, they took photos, they did images, Matterport, and listed on MLS, yada, yada, yada. Like it was like verbatim, basically the same as everyone else does. But they wrote it all out and they showed it. And the idea being like, now people are like, okay, I want that for me. And
well, it's funny in our states, like one of the things that buyer wants is they want to know the process, right? And the sad part is most agents don't share the process. You share the process. You don't even have to be doing anything different. That's what makes you stand out, is just the fact that you're sharing the process and you're educating the consumer that you're the expert and this is how you do it, right? And that's what they're looking for, right? That's one of the top things that NAR says that buyers or consumers are looking for. So awesome.
There's a great movie to watch. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's a little older now. It's called Thank You for Smoking, which is an amazing movie. Like, yeah, it's about like basically the tobacco industry, but get over that for a second and just like the actual like marketing lessons you can learn from it. And one of them is basically that is they're trying to market their cigarettes. And he's like, okay, explain the process of how you do it. And he's like walking through, he's like, first we do this, then we toast the tobacco, and then we do this. He goes, right there. Toasted cigarettes. That's what we're going to go on. He goes, yeah, but like everybody does that. Like every single cigarette out there, they're toasted. He goes, yeah, but no one else is talking about it.
Yeah.
And you're going to be the one talking about it. And that's what they basically did. And it blew up that idea, right? But like, just because everyone's doing something, if no one's talking about it, you can be the one to own it. And then it almost makes it look like you're the one doing it. So now when they say it's toasted, they're like, oh, they're just copying that.
Yeah. You're the original owner of this process that's always been done. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like if you know Agent Locator, like one of the things I actually really like that they did, which I find funny and also sometimes infuriating at the same time, is they branded retargeting as tag marketing. And we'll get people coming like, okay, like I know you're talking about tag retargeting, but can you do tag marketing like they do? I'm like, it's just retargeting. Like that's all it is. Like they've just given it their own name, but they've done this brilliant job of making people think tag marketing is their own unique thing when it's just retargeting. But that idea of like, and anytime you can do anything like that, like if you can make your selling system sound unique to you, like, you know, the just sell homes patented selling system type of idea, like it's now sounds proprietary. And like little things like that can actually have a big impact.
Interesting. Very good. So go through the things for me again, just so if we have people that didn't write down.
Fast-moving hyperlocal content.
Fast-moving hyperlocal content.
No BS market update.
No BS market update.
Precision marketing.
Precision marketing.
5-star client service.
5-star client service.
Referral marketing.
Referral marketing.
Client studies.
And then client studies. Awesome.
Sorry, case studies. Case studies. So,
okay.
Again, like I mentioned at the beginning, like it's not that you have to do it in that order. Like you can basically pick 2 and just focus on those 2. Now, obviously, like 5-star client service, you have to have a client first to do it.
Yeah.
So like you can't necessarily start there unless you just like first day on the job had a client, which I know some people do. But like you can pick and choose which ones to do. But I wouldn't add more than 3 at the start. If you try to add all 6 at once, it's going to be hard.
So let me ask you this real quick. Yes, in a perfect world, it's great if they come and they give you 5-star reviews for your service. Would you go after people and you know to give you testimonials? And where do you suggest they put them? Like here in Canada, like where do you suggest they get their 5-star reviews posted?
I mean, I would just basically spread them out a little bit, but I'd focus on one platform at a time. So I'd be like, hey, for the next 3 months, we're going to put everyone to Google reviews. And then the next 3 months, once we get a certain amount on there, we're going to focus on Facebook. And then, but like every single one you do, like this is the beauty of case studies is you're pulling that information out of them too, and then using that as part of your marketing.
Okay.
So like, instead of just a testimonial, you're doing full case studies on it. Like in-depth blog posts, in-depth videos that detail the entire process.
Cool. If someone hasn't really done a whole bunch of this and they've been just messing around and playing with it, haven't created any sort of consistency or any sort of system around this, where would you advise them to start? Like what would be the first 2 that you would say, hey, you haven't really done anything consistent, these are the 2 you should start with?
If I went back to sales today, I would start with fast-moving hyperlocal content and then the no BS market update. I think those are the easiest ones to start. And then obviously 5-star client service at all the time, but you need clients first to actually do that.
So listen, we've covered, we've covered a lot of systems today. So you guys watching, here's the thing. if you don't have a marketing system and you don't do it consistently and you're not looking at all those 6 opportunities, then you need to make sure you're putting something together. So Andrew, listen, we really appreciate you jumping on here and sharing kind of those 6 strategies, 6 ideas. If someone wanted to reach out to you, how would they get in touch with you?
JustSellHomes.com is the easiest way. You can also go to andrew@justsellhomes.com, or if you want to book a call, bookandrew.ca. That goes to my calendar booking tool, and you can just book a time to chat right into my calendar.
Okay, give me that last one again. It's what is it?
Bookandrew.ca.
Bookandrew.ca. So if you want to connect with Andrew on how he can help you market, you know, and get out there, make sure that you you know, look him up and check him out. He's obviously got lots of great ideas, lots of great strategies, and he's helped a ton of people kind of level up on their marketing. So appreciate your time today. And listen, I hope that your, you know, those 6 strategies, you finally get them written down and written out and put out there in a format.
Yeah. I'm about 5,000 words deep, and I'm nowhere close to being done, so it might be a while.
All right, my friend. Thanks. Take care and have a great. Bye-bye.